All right, Brian, ready to roll.
Ready? Wait, can I just get you count to 10?
1, 2, 3, 4,
Got
5,
it.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Can you count to 20 in Spanish?
Once.
Actually, you know what? Count to 10 in Spanish with your Jimmy Stewart voice.
Oh, yes.
Spanish, Jimmy Stewart voice?
Yeah, go ahead.
Uno. No, that's right. Uno, dos, tres, tres, cuatro, cinco, seis, siete, ocho, nueve, 10.
Does Jimmy Stewart really stutter that much? I don't think so.
It's an exaggeration.
It's an
I
exaggeration.
mostly got his impression from Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Kenny.
Oh, okay.
To this day, I will never understand why we have Slimer in our intro.
Why not? Why not?
Why? Well, yeah, no, yeah. At this point in the show, why not?
Anything goes.
Anything goes. All right. Welcome to episode 98. That's right. 98. A scant dos episodios from the big 100 episode of the Wrestling Connection. I'm your host, as always, of the most must-see show to ever hit the Bedford TV airwaves, north, south, east, and west of the Pecos. And if you don't think we can use a more tried reference than that, well, you haven't been watching the show for that long. Well, have you? Anyway, I'm your host, as always, Mr. Ken Hill, your connection to the wrestling world. Alongside me, as always, is Mr.
Dr. Brian Dorrington. Is that a little loud?
Oh, no, it's just fine.
Okay, all right, good.
Mr. Brian Dorrington Jr. Sadly, Greg and Julie could not be with us today, but we wish them nothing but the best and a Happy New Year. Of course, yes, we are the regular Tim Taylor and...
Oh, wait. Sorry, Factions is later.
Yeah, Factions. A little later on in Pro Wrestling 101.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are just under 2 weeks... We are just over a week away from the Royal Rumble, where for only the second time in the pay-per-view's history, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship will be defended in the actual Royal Rumble match, a point that Vince and Stephanie were clear to remind Reigns of, as he was in the ring and almost the entirety of the WWE roster was standing on the stage entrance. Now, of course, they decided to institute what was known as a one versus all match, where essentially Reigns would be forced to go up just simply against opponent after opponent after opponent until simply Reigns just could not fight anymore. Now, while all this was going on, Sheamus, one of Reigns' long-standing rivals, took this opportunity to assault Reigns' friend Ambrose, Dean Ambrose, the Intercontinental Champion, from behind, which would in turn lead into a non-title match between the Celtic Brawler and Ambrose. Now, this, of course, was a hard-hitting match between these two for quite a few minutes, until Ambrose's own rival, Kevin Owens, saw fit to interfere, ambushing Ambrose and beating him down, and then driving Ambrose through a announce table at ringside. Now, Ambrose would later would want revenge on Owens and went so far as to, on Thursday Night SmackDown, which you now see on the USA Network, so USA has got the monopoly on all the big-time WWE programs. On SmackDown, Ambrose came out and challenged Owens to a last man standing match at the Royal Rumble for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, for those who know their Royal Rumble history, we've had 2 last man standing matches in the history of the Royal Rumble. The last one was in 2007, a hard-hitting one with John Cena and Umaga. The one before that was a 2004 encounter, last man standing encounter between Triple H and Shawn Michaels, which ended up in a rare double countout, and this was done in front of a raucous Philadelphia crowd, which you know is just full of extreme smarks.
Now, did any of those fighters do well in the actual Royal Rumble match or even participate after?
Oh, no, the Triple H, Shawn Michaels one, oh, no, they were nowhere near ready to do that. And Cena, of course, was the champion himself, and Umaga had been choked out by Cena, so they could not compete. So it begs the question that if Ambrose and Owens are going to be in a last man standing match of all things, if that means whether or not they'll be able to participate in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Now, if they were to come in later in the Royal Rumble, that would actually work out, because storyline-wise, you could say that they've had time to rest up a little bit. But still, with last man standing matches are among the most grueling, physically tasking matches in wrestling history. So, again, this kind of puts an interesting spin on things as far as our predictions are going to go for next week. Because, I mean, you would have to think that Ambrose and Owens were going to be among the favorites to win the Royal Rumble, and now that they may very well not be in it, it just kind of changes things up as far as what we're going to go with. Because like Brian so indicated a couple weeks ago, we're all going to be going with 4 picks for our Royal Rumble predictions as to who's going to win. And with Ambrose and Owens seemingly not involved, like I said, this certainly changes things up.
And I just want to mention, this is, you and I talked about it, but this is where things get creepy, because we mentioned a possible last man standing match or a ladder match or a street fight between these two.
Right.
And I think that they got some plants, paying attention to what we're saying. Maybe. It's my conspiracy theory.
Well, I mean, Owens also indicated in a recent interview with Michael Cole, he made no bones about the fact that he wants to pursue the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Now, he may very well do that as whether or not he wins back the Intercontinental Championship, because Owens' first role is a prize fighter. He always wants to fight for the biggest prize, and while that at the time, right now, that may be the Intercontinental title, even if he wins that, he could see the WWE World Championship as an even bigger prize and an even bigger payday. I mean, it's all about the prize and all about the money for Owens. So, I mean, it really throws the whole Ambrose-Owens match up into the air too, because it's not a guarantee that even though Owens has his eyes on the WWE World title, that he may not very well take back his Intercontinental Championship at the Royal Rumble. It's an interesting conundrum. All right, so moving on from Owens and Ambrose, we have another interesting feud budding up between former PCB teammates, Charlotte, the Divas champion Charlotte, and her former friend Becky Lynch. Now, Charlotte made her true colors known and fully aligned herself with her father, the Nature Boy. The 2-time Hall of Famer, 16-time world champion. Woo! Nature Boy, Ric Flair, and showed her true colors by assaulting Becky following a match last week after Becky scored a surprise win. Now, Becky came right out before Charlotte's match with Brie Bella, assaulted the Divas champion, and then Ric Flair actually had to call the match off because Charlotte was supposedly too hampered by Becky's assault to actually compete in the match. I mean, whether this is true or not, I mean, you'd have to think this is more or less Flair is just taking the easy way out, using Becky's assault as an excuse. But as it is, I mean, this is good, okay? Because like we talked about last week, they finally got a set role for both Becky and Charlotte Charlotte's the heel. She's the cocky one. She's riding on her family's coattails. Becky's the one lone last kicker, okay, which she admitted that was probably going to end up being for her anyway, and that's how she likes it. So this is what I like. We finally got an identity for Becky, and we've got a defined role for Charlotte, which I think was what we were really looking for at the end of all of this, through this whole Divas Revolution kerfuffle, was established individual roles for these two, and I think it's good. We're finally getting the ball rolling on some decent Divas matches. Are you looking for? It's clear that they're looking at a title match at the Royal Rumble. Is that one of the matches you're looking forward to the most, Brian?
I think, yeah. I don't know if I'm looking forward to it the most, but you're right. The Divas division, was sort of a mess when they just brought all these women up at the same time without really having any direction on where they were going or who we should be rooting for and who we shouldn't be. But now there is clarity in it. I'm just surprised. I mean, I'm not upset or anything that Becky Lynch is actually currently the one vying for the title. I would have expected Sasha Banks to be in her position just from her fan base on NXT. She's a huge fan favorite. You hear Sasha chants all the time, even during men's matches a few times. So, I don't hate it that Becky Lynch is there. I'm just really surprised that it's not Charlotte and Sasha.
I think they're kind of letting the whole Sasha thing kind of like marinate. They're really kind of trying to stir the pot for her being the number one contender. I mean, we could obviously, like you said, she's been getting a lot of face reactions even outside of her hometown here in Boston. I mean, we could very well see her go up against either Becky as a heel, which fits Sasha just as well, or we could see her playing the face role towards Charlotte as being, while Sasha is just as cocky, she never fell back on her family connections or anything like that to get ahead in WWE. Because as we know, Sasha she's the first cousin of Snoop Dogg. So, I mean, even though she has those sort of connections, we never see or hear her using those. So that could actually be an interesting plot point if they ever decide to have Sasha go up against Charlotte in the future. Because you already have something there you can work on. All right, so now moving on to next bit of business on Raw. We had a United States Championship match between Kalisto and Del Rio. Now, as you know, Sin Cara was sidelined a few weeks ago with unfortunate shoulder injury. Since then, Kalisto has been making waves in the singles division, picking up some key wins, such as over Ryback in the WWE World Championship Tournament and Survivor Series, and actually scoring a couple of key wins over U.S. champion Alberto Del Rio. Now, obviously, this is where I think it was better played out. Obviously, you get a couple of wins with Kalisto. You don't want to wait for a pay-per-view, okay? This is more. I like this. This was more spontaneous. This kind of U.S. but it was well deserved for Kalisto. Like you say, he picked up big wins over Del Rio, so he was due a championship opportunity. Now this match dragged at first because despite their similar styles, despite them having luchador backgrounds, it kind of took them a few minutes to really get the ball rolling on this. Once they did, you could see the crowd get slowly more and more invested in this, to the point that you had plenty of exciting near falls, close calls. Plenty of breathtaking moments from Kalisto and amazing athleticism from Del Rio. And then, you had the shocking upset where Kalisto rolled up Del Rio after missing the double curb stomp, and picking up an amazing win, picking up his first singles championship in WWE. But just as soon as he won the championship, we'd find out later on Thursday Night SmackDown, he lost it just as quickly, albeit thanks to some outside interference from King Barrett. But Del Rio would cash in his rematch clause. He capitalized on the opportunity thanks to Barrett and won back and became a two-time United States champion. So, I can understand wanting to test the waters with Kalisto as a singles champion, but still, only having him hold it, technically, if you want to be technical about it, he only held it for a day. I mean, because we know the tapings are on Tuesday, so technically he only held the championship for one day. I mean, that's Kane. That's Kane territory with the WWE Championship right there. And
Has there been a time before when a title has changed hands, the same title, twice in 1 week on SmackDown, Raw and SmackDown? It's a pretty rare event.
it is actually. I mean, there was a case where The Miz won the Intercontinental Championship from Barrett at WrestleMania, and then won it back, and then Barrett won it back the following night on Raw. That's one example. But between Raw and SmackDown, you would have to go all the way back to believe 2001, the year I got into professional wrestling, with Triple H, who was the current Intercontinental Champion, and Jeff Hardy. Now the Hardy Boys were at the time were feuding with Stone Cold and Triple H. Stone Cold wasn't on SmackDown. There was an Intercontinental title match between Triple H and Jeff Hardy. Mac got involved, laid out Triple H with a steel chair. Jeff hits the Swanton. Jeff becomes the Intercontinental Champion, one of the more shocking moments in SmackDown at the time. But then Triple H, thanks to Stone Cold, would win back the Intercontinental title the following Raw. So, like you said, it's very rare. It's very rare. I think kind of like they were testing the reaction here. They were gauging the reaction, and I think they would be pleasantly surprised at the reaction Kalisto got. I mean, of course, he didn't get nearly as big a reaction on SmackDown. But I mean, as it is, I thought it was a great win for Kalisto. I mean, I think he looks very. I think he's very crisp. I think he moves around the ring pretty well. I think he has a great style, especially with bigger wrestlers like Del Rio and Ryback. As long as he has a good base for an opponent, Kalisto can put on a great match with just about anyone. From what I've seen the last few months. I mean, do you agree with me? I mean, do you see something different here for Kalisto? I mean,
Well, first of all, I'm just shocked that Del Rio won it back because I think you and I talked on, was it Wednesday or Tuesday? Tuesday, I think.
Yeah.
And I think at least I expressed, I don't know if you agree with me, that was sort of Del Rio's swan song, thinking, he's going to go on to bigger things. He didn't really need the United States title. He was a former WWE heavyweight champion. He injured John Cena. He beat John Cena clean in his first match back. So I was expecting him to relinquish his title and sort of, get in the WWE heavyweight picture and see a new group of people compete for the United States Championship. So I was shocked to see him win it. Am I glad to see that Kalisto won? Sure. He deserves it. He's a hardworking guy. He's fun to watch. I just don't know how much he's going to stick with the fans in terms of mic skills and anything. I mean, and he's always going to live, whether like it or not, he's always going to have to live in Rey Mysterio's shadow just
exactly,
because of the size factor.
Just the comparison between the two, it's almost surreal just how similar they are to each other, not just in the way they dress, but their mannerisms, their voice, just how he comes off. I mean, like you said, comparisons to Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero, he mentioned on SmackDown. I mean, so he even admitted himself on SmackDown that he has a lot to measure up to, but he hopes that he can bring as much prestige to the Latino nation as he did to the U.S. Championship. Now, whether this is going to lead to a rematch either next week or even at the Royal Rumble, most likely at the Royal Rumble, I mean, I wouldn't be against him winning it back for real this time. I mean, because like you said, Del Rio does not really need the United States Championship. He is fully capable of operating in a main event level. We've seen him do that with the likes of Sheamus, John Cena, Roman Reigns. He can be a viable opponent when he steps up and works to the extent of his abilities, when he pushes himself. He can be a vicious opponent and someone that can be an intimidating presence and a threat to a world championship.
And not only that, he's one of the bigger veteran names, maybe the biggest on the roster right now besides, full-timers, I think, that's not injured. I mean, who else is as big a name as he is in the former WWE Championship? I can't think of any on the roster right now. I mean, Sheamus is probably the only one other than he is.
Exactly. Like I'm saying, in terms of the Latino audience, I mean, you need someone like Del Rio who's got the credentials, who's got the family, who's got the legacy, who's got the background such as he does, really to be at the forefront of that, to draw in the Latino audience for WWE, because that's a big part of it, especially in the Southwest. It's a huge part of WWE's ratings. All right. So anyway, moving on from the United States title picture, we had the return of the Beast, Brock Lesnar, and his agent Paul Heyman. Heyman was lobbying throughout the night to Vince and Stephanie to not just put Lesnar in the Royal Rumble match, but to give Lesnar essentially a shortcut, just to have him hop, skip, and jump ahead to WrestleMania 32 to face the winner of the Royal Rumble, because in Heyman's words, that Lesnar was the box office. Now, I don't disagree with Heyman right here. I actually don't disagree with that. It brings up a good point. Lesnar is about the biggest special attraction. I mean, we talked about this on end time and again, that Lesnar is about the biggest special attraction WWE has now, much akin to what Undertaker was for the last 10 years. He was their big time attraction now, and you would want someone like him facing off someone who is indomitable and nearly indestructible as him, facing off against a champion just to test the champion's mettle, whoever that may be. Now, as it is, I mean, we're very well looking at Reigns versus Lesnar too. I mean, but like you discussed last week, there could be a number of interesting scenarios here. We could see Reigns versus Lesnar too, because we never had a true resolution to their match last year. We could see Reigns versus Ambrose. We could see Reigns versus Owens. We could see a number of interesting scenarios right here. And I'm thinking that at Fastlane, kind of the intermediary here between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, you're going to see something that involves determining a new number one contender. I mean, we have to imagine something, because I don't see most likely scenarios. I don't see Reigns losing the WWE Championship here. In all likelihood, I don't see him losing it. Like I said, the only possible option I could see is Lesnar win. The most likely option would be Lesnar winning the World Championship. Either Lesnar or possibly one of the League of Nations members. I don't really see anything other than that, or Reigns retaining.
Well, I mean, personally, I think that it's going to be WrestleMania is going to be Reigns Lesnar too, and I'm trying to think the only way to swing that would be to have Brock Lesnar win the championship at the Royal Rumble, and then have Reigns cash in his rematch and win at Fastlane, and then have the rubber match at WrestleMania. I think that that's the most likely scenario, the easiest possible scenario, but then you got to wonder, are they really going to put Brock Lesnar on, arguably the smallest pay-per-view of the year, the one in between, the two big ones, Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. So, I mean, I think that that's really the most plausible way to get to that match, and I'm 99% confident that will be the main event at WrestleMania.
Well, it's interesting you mention that, because a lot of news sites have been reporting that WWE officials are trying to kind of like put more emphasis on Fastlane, not just as a go-between between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. Try to establish it as A or B level pay-per-view, something that people can become interested in, and not just see it as a go-between with Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. Just like, oh, we can skip this. We all know what's going to happen at WrestleMania. They kind of want it to be interesting. They want to give it some shock value. They want to drum up interest for it. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. Like I said, I imagine they're going to do something big at Fastlane. And we also forget that Triple H is kind of they haven't resolved the whole Reigns Triple H matter here. So that begs the question: is Triple H going to be in the Royal Rumble? Are we going to see him at Fastlane? Are we even going to see him at WrestleMania? So, I mean, there's the Triple H factor too. So there's a lot that we're going to be discussing as far as the Royal Rumble match goes come next week for our paper preview. Well, speaking of the WWE World Championship, Reigns was, like we mentioned, forced to go into a 1 versus all match, where, like I said, that essentially the only thing for Reigns to do was just compete with opponent after opponent after opponent after opponent till Reigns could simply not stand. So this was essentially just Reigns being sent to the shooting gallery, more or less. Just pretty much you had every heel out there, from Owens to the New Day to the Wyatt family. Oh, and look who made it from her babysitting
We
job.
have a special guest appearance.
It's the
Out
queen
of the
of
blue.
pay-per-view herself, Julie.
Hi, Ken.
Hi. Oh, and say hi to Angie too. She's here too.
Oh, hi, Angie. Where is she?
She's hiding.
Angie, go stand next to Ken and wave to the audience.
She's a little camera shy. Everyone, this is my darling girlfriend, Angela. It's her 24th birthday coming up on next Wednesday. We all here at the Wrestling Connection want to wish you a happy birthday, baby.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Happy birthday.
Bye.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Ken, is that my belt?
Yep. Just keeping it safe and sound and nice and cozy.
Can I come in and get it?
I don't know. Can you?
It's her belt.
All right. I know, like I said, we're gonna have to edit. We're gonna have to put Queen over that one.
All right.
Enjoy it while it lasts, Julie. It's coming back to the true champ on Royal Rumble
That's
time.
what I'm doing. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
that's
enjoy it.
that's gonna be me. That's gonna be
Well,
my.
I didn't lose it at a pay-per-view. I have the Brock Lesnar argument right now. Okay,
Oh, boy,
I have the
here we
Heyman
go.
Lesnar argument.
Brock Lesnar. Yeah, here's my counter argument. You're not Brock Lesnar.
Well, I'm pretty close.
Oh, please. I'm more Brock Lesnar than you. Yeah. All right. Anyway.
Moving on.
Moving on.
We were talking about the main event,
Main
Reigns.
event. Now, Reigns actually. Reigns' first opponent was Kevin Owens. Now, what I liked about this is that they didn't just go through opponent after opponent after opponent and made everyone look weak. I mean, they had Owens put up a very credible fight against Reigns, and it went on for about 15 minutes, and then essentially once Owens had been cleared out of the ring, Vince and Stephanie basically just sicked the entire crowd of heels on Reigns, who got beaten down by the New Day, kicked by Sheamus. It looked like they were about to put some more hurt on him, and then here comes Brock Lesnar seemingly to the rescue, basically just taking everyone to Suplex City, basically just throwing anyone and everyone in sight, except for a select few, which I'll get to in my new hidden highlights segment. I mean, Lesnar seemingly saving Reigns, only to make it clear that his intentions were only for himself, picking Reigns up and laying him back out with a vicious F5. So it's clear that Lesnar is in the Royal Rumble, as is Reigns, as is the New Day, the Big Show, Ryback, the Wyatts, the League of Nations. Basically, anyone and everyone that you could think of is going to be in the Royal Rumble match. And again, it's going to be interesting with two of the biggest contenders, Owens and Ambrose, seemingly not involved in the Royal Rumble match. We'll see. So it'll be interesting to see where our picks go for next week. So, I mean, Brian, so overall what I was trying to say is I thought they actually made this interesting, not by going through opponent after opponent, but making Owens look very strong by having him be a credible opponent for Roman Reigns.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think anybody expected it to last that long. I think that they, at least myself, expected Reigns to have to run a gauntlet. And I thought that would have helped to build up Reigns and make him look, like a real force to mess with. But it made Owens just as, good as Reigns. So it shows that, as much as they're pushing Reigns, that they have big plans for Owens, too.
Exactly.
Especially when you get on the boss's good side.
Oh, no, exactly. Something I want to get to here, and I call this like hidden highlights. Something you don't normally, just kind of like bits and pieces from Raw or SmackDown that you miss. Now, if you notice something here, I mean, you see Sheamus, you see Owens, you see the New Day, you you see all these guys assaulting him, but when you saw all the heels walk out to ringside, I mean, you saw the Wyatt family there, and the interesting thing is that the Wyatt family never entered the ring at any point during the assault on Reigns. No, and even when all the heels were assaulting Reigns at once, they never entered. And even when Lesnar came out to seemingly rescue Roman and clear the ring, the Wyatts just as mysteriously disappeared. So, I mean, we've been talking about for a couple of weeks how it'd be interesting if the Wyatts became more of an anti-authority group. Because we thought it was curious that why would the Wyatts be coming out with Stephanie and Vince in the first place? Because the Wyatts always seem to be in a separate entity. They never really seem to be fit within the whole dichotomy of good and bad in WWE. They just seem to be doing their own thing. So for them to come out at Stephanie's behest, at Vince's behest, kind of begs the question. I mean, are they trying to subtly hint at something here? Are we slowly seeing the rumblings of a potential Wyatt rebellion against the authority, against the McMahons? I mean, Brian, do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, and I agree with you. But the thing that I find confusing is the whole anybody but Reigns thing.
Mm-hmm.
Wyatt's saying that as well, yet he didn't step in and help destroy Reigns. So I'm a little bit confused on that. But I would love to see a face turn and have them become the ultimate anti-authority figure.
I think it would fit within Wyatt's motif, saying that he's always been the puppet master. He is not the one to be strung along, in his words. And most likely those would be in his words. So I could very well see that as being the reason. I mean, you could see the McMahons asking the Wyatts, why didn't you go in after Reigns? You said yourself, anyone but Roman, and said, Roman would fall by my hands, not by yours.
And the thing I think would be cool with that is the whole fired routine wouldn't work for the Wyatt family. They're
'cause
sort of beyond that. They
just show up
could
whenever
have
they
the
want.
attitude where they'll just show up when they're fired, and that adds so much to it. Sort of like, not to compare it to the NWO, but similar ways where it's they're just always there. No matter what you can do, they're just so anti-authority.
Right. So, I mean, this definitely has the interesting feeling of a face turn. Perhaps not right now, maybe not even at WrestleMania, but somewhere down the line in 2016, we're going to see, I think, a shift in motivation, a shift in moods for the Wyatts. And I'm also curious to see how the crowd's going to react to them as a face anti-authority group. Because if there's any group that you could definitely see rebelling against the authority, against the McMahons, I think it would be the Wyatts. I mean, they're the absolute, like you said, they're the absolute definition of anti-authority. So it would not surprise me in the least to see them going up against the likes of Triple H and Vince and whoever they decide to include in their group, maybe even the League of Nations if they stay together to that point. All right. So anyway,
Let's just stick with the Wyatts for the next one.
Yeah, like we're coming to one of my favorite segments, Pro Wrestling 101, with your professor, of course, me, Professor Ken Hill.
I actually forgot about that one until I just saw it in there.
I know. I actually like it. I'm guessing the Big Show was Greg's touch. Even when he's not here, he's here. All right. So today in Pro Wrestling 101, students, I'm here to talk to you about factions. Now, factions are essentially not just tag teams, but supergroups, more or less. Supergroups consisting of at least 3 individuals. It could be tag.
Sort of like the Traveling Wilburys.
Exactly, like the Traveling Wilburys. Yes, the Traveling Wilburys. Like the New Day. Like of course the Wyatt family. Of course you have other factions such as the Social Outcasts, or of course the cast of Full House. Yeah, yes, and the Social Outcasts. Essentially, essentially factions are groups that join together for a certain motivation in the world of professional wrestling, whether that be for money, whether it be for gold, or essentially to prove a single point that maybe perhaps that they're the most dominant or the most interactive group, or that essentially or just prove their popularity, prove their worth. Of course, you have groups such as Four Horsemen offshoots, such as Evolution with Ric Flair, Triple H, Batista, and Orton, who at one point held all the gold in WWE. It was all about power. It was all about the past, the present, and future for Evolution. Of course, like I said, you have the Wyatt family, whose motivations aren't fully known. Of course, you have the Social Outcasts, who are simply just looking to be accepted, thus their name, the Social Outcasts. They're looking to carve their own niche into WWE and no longer be considered on the shelf. Now, of course, you have the eponymous group, one of the true factions, the true first factions of professional wrestling, known throughout NWA, WWE, WCW. Of course, I'm talking about the Four Horsemen, with the likes of Tully Blanchard, Chris Benoit, Ric Flair, Ole, and Arn Anderson. Truly one of the more dominant groups. Of course, you have other super groups such as the Nation of Domination.
How is there not a picture of the NWO here? The greatest faction of all time.
It is one of the greatest factions of all time.
The greatest faction of all time.
The greatest faction of all time. To be honest, it hadn't really occurred to me, but I know, shocking for me, but I kind of wanted to talk more more like the tight knit groups, not just like the sprawling super groups like the D-Generation X and the NWO, and even the Nation of Domination had its members far and wide at one point. And I'm talking like more the tight knit groups that had a single unified purpose. With D-Generation X, you more or less just had them committing chaos and harm and just insanity just for the heck of it. NWO, same reason, more or less just tearing companies apart at the seams. With no real single unified notion. Here with the Four Horsemen, it was all about money and power and being more. 2 weeks, we will be celebrating our 100th episode with a big spectacular. I'm talking hour and a half. We're going to go over everything. We're going to have special guests. We're going to have highlights. We're going to have the whole kit, caboodle, and shebang. It's going to be a fantastic time for everyone here. But before we sign off, there's just one special thing, and if I could ask my lovely girlfriend Angela to come on screen, please. And Brian, Julie, if you'd like to join in with me, I believe you know the words. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, God, I thought you were going to propose.
Happy birthday to
you. Happy birthday, dear Angie. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, baby.
Thank you.
All right, like I said, happy birthday from everyone here at the Wrestling Connection, Angela, on a happy 24th birthday. All right, so in the meantime, folks, next week is our pay-per preview for the 2016 Royal Rumble. Like I said, it's going to be an historic pay-per-view. First time in 24 years that the championship, WWE World Championship, has been defended at the Royal Rumble. If with any luck, we'll see another 60-minute legend form in Roman Reigns. Like I said, we got that. We have the Intercontinental Championship match. We have the building feuds with the Divas Championship and Tag Team titles. And of course, Kalisto and Del Rio feuding over the U.S. title. I believe we'll see many of these title feuds culminate at the Royal Rumble as well. Of course, like I said, you're going to have Brock Lesnar. You're going to have the League of Nations, the Social Outcasts, the Wyatt family. You're going to have
The Big Show.
Big Show. Of course, Greg's precious.
He told me to make sure I worked the Big Show in at least once.
Yeah,
so there you go.
We had to do it for Greg's sake because he's not here. and my heart bleeds for him. Like I said, the Big Show, Ryback. I mean, a lot of big names in the Royal Rumble this year. Surprisingly, not any of the obvious ones. Obviously, no Daniel Bryan, no John Cena or Randy Orton, no Cesaro, so we can't expect anyone to be swung over the top rope. But all in all, it's shaping up to be a very interesting Royal Rumble, purely just because, like I said, for the first time in nearly 25 years, the WWE World Championship will be on the line. In the meantime, folks, we will be signing off here. Catch this episode and many others. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/The Wrestling Connection. Catch all of our past and present episodes, including our 1-year anniversary special. You can also check out Bedford TV's YouTube page for updates on The Wrestling Connection. You can also check out our Facebook page, facebook.com/The Wrestling Connection, for all of your Raw and pay-per-view coverage. And, of course, if any comments, questions, or even predictions for our upcoming Royal Rumble pay-per-view, or if you want to send some lovely birthday wishes to my girlfriend Angela, you can email us.
I predict producer Brian is going to win the title back. That's my prediction.
Oh, Brian, you're so funny. All right. You can email us at wrestlingconnection, all one word, wrestlingconnection@gmail.com. All right, and you can also catch us on our Twitter handle @WConnection, where you'll catch all of our funny little quips and blurbs about Raw, SmackDown, or during our pay-per-view coverage. All right, so in the meantime, for Angela, for Queen of Pay-Per-View Julie, and for Brian, and the ever invisible Greg Dolan, this is Ken Hill signing off from the Wrestling Connection, reminding you to be connected, get connected.
Stay connected. The most watched show TV on Bedford TV, or any station for that matter.
It's something that I'm supposed to be. Someday we'll find it, the Wrestling Connection, the lover.